Our team, our community. This is CondorsTown, and this is another Energy Condors connection. Now, here's Erik Fox and Ryan Holt.
I love when the intro guy just does all the work for us. We don't have to tell him anything. But welcome to Condors Connection. My name, as the voice guy said, is Erik Fox. The other guy on the split screen is Ryan Holt from the Bakersfield Condors. And yes, it is Thursday morning at 10 a.m., and we're doing this at Thursday morning at 10 a.m. It's back to our normal time. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great. We're home safe and sound and ready for 2 months of Condors hockey here in Bakersfield.
It's going to be a crazy whirlwind as we head towards the final part of the season. But as we always do, we always talk about the parent organization first. That'd be the Edmonton Oilers. Trade deadline is almost here. And we've talked about how Oilers, we're not going to see very much movement on them, but you never know. There's always some sort of surprise. What are you seeing up there?
Yeah, it's like, sometimes when I see interviews or read interviews or, watch TV and, you hear from general managers, and it's always like they're kind of saying one thing and maybe behind the scenes they're doing the other. And I think, a little bit of cat and mouse with some teams. And, let's face it, the slogan out there is deadline spur action for a reason. There is a deadline for a reason. It sometimes can force teams' hands. And I think, it was a trade where, with Ekholm, the Oilers had to give up something to get something. Sometimes you need a different, as Jay Woodcroft would say, a different ingredient, in the pot. And, Ekholm brings stuff that Barry doesn't mean that either are bad players or either can't help their other teams. But, unfortunately, with the way the Oilers cap is right now, everything they do, someone has to go out. Like, they can't just take on a contract and fit it under the cap. Someone either has to come to Bakersfield or someone has to move on. And, when you're talking to Tyson Barrie, he's not coming to Bakersfield. So, he had to move on. And I think Ekholm's a nice addition. Do I think they're done? Who knows? If they can, add a little depth up front or maybe add another defenseman, maybe they do it. But I think if you're a Condors fan, which you are because you're watching us, I think you have to be, pretty happy with where Edmonton is right now. And I think where Bakersfield is right now as well, too, because I think after Friday, I think only the Condors are going to get helped. I don't see the next 48 hours hurting the Condors at all.
So you don't see any slots with Edmonton that really need to plug up some holes or anything, really?
No, and they're going to get Evander Kane back. And I know it's cliche, they did this last year. Hey, we signed Evander Kane, and, that's the trade deadline acquisition. But it's true. Like, they've played the last 3 weeks without Evander Kane. He's, a top 3, top 4 forward for them. So, you don't get to add many guys like that. Florida's saying the same thing, with Anthony Duclair. Hey, we added a guy that hadn't been in our lineup. It doesn't matter if he's already in our organization. So, you add Kane back up front. That solves, hey, we need a top 6 forward. And, can they maybe get a defenseman on the back end? Maybe. But, at what cost, I think, is going to be the ultimate tipping point.
Of course, trade deadline starts, meaning that playoff race really starts to develop. Throughout the year, it has hems and haws. It goes ups and downs. But we're starting to see that playoff race come a little more clearer. What are you seeing as we head into the final part of the season?
Yeah, I think the West is in the NHL is pretty much set. Nashville is given up, so they're in 10th right now. The Flames, everyone just kind of keeps waiting around going, when are they going to wake up? Well, it's March. You are what you are at this point, in my mind. The days of November, December, hey, we got some time. You got no time now. I think Seattle's going to falter here down the stretch, but I don't know if anybody catches them. Winnipeg hasn't been playing great, but they're going to get in. So I think the teams are set. What order they, kind of shuffle the deck chairs is, remains to be seen. But I think if you're Edmonton, you want to win the division. You want to be playing your best hockey here with the final, whatever it is, 20 games, and, go into the playoffs, giving yourself the best possible chance. But, it goes through Colorado. It's always gone through Colorado, and it's going to go through Colorado again. You're going to have to go in there and beat them. And, that's kind of the beast that's waiting for whoever comes out of, the Pacific, and then obviously who comes out of the Central.
Speaking of the Pacific, Vegas and LA are still kind of powerhouses right now. Do you see a way of Edmonton leaping them?
Vegas has surprised me with the way they've handled all the injuries they have and still been able to I mean, I watched the game last night, and Aiden Hill's the starting goaltender, and he's the number one right now. If you had told me that going into the season, I would have said, yeah, Vegas probably isn't making the playoffs. But they found ways to overcome their goaltending. Thompson being out, Swaz's been good. So that was a little bit of an acquisition for them, right? You get a healthy Laurent Brossoit is an adequate 1A goaltender in the hockey league when he's healthy. The big question was he healthy? The Kings are interesting. I don't see them being a threat, honestly. I think Vegas is the big threat in the Pacific. Like I said, I think Seattle's falling off. The two other wild cards are going to come from the Central. So, I think it's Vegas and Edmonton at some point, and then, hey, here's Colorado after the bloodbath of the Central.
I will say my LB Condors bobblehead that's to my right shook his head when you started talking about him. So
it's great to see. And, we root for all former Condors. David Guster scored his first NHL goal the other night in Chicago. And, we did an interview this morning with Erik Bergdorfer, who, was with us in the ECHL and went to the American Hockey League, ended up making his NHL debut with Buffalo. So, we celebrate all former Condors, regardless of what organization they're in. LB obviously means a ton to this organization, at all levels. And, it's great to see him come back, because that's a career-ending injury with hips and goaltenders. Like, you don't necessarily come back from that. And it's great to see him get back to the NHL.
Let's going to talk on the local end, and LB wore Condors colors, and a whole bunch of other people wearing Condors colors. You guys got back from Vegas, a split out there. What were you seeing last week?
Yeah, just a really nice couple of months for the team. I feel like we've been living out of a suitcase here for the last 8 weeks, and the only losses in the last month have been on back-to-backs in the same city that we're against the same opponent. So Calgary, Colorado, Texas. You're facing the top of the top in both divisions, and you get the opener, and Calgary 5 seconds left. Colorado a bad third period. Texas responded last week the way they should have, after Friday night. So I think if you're only 3 losses in a month where you play in Coachella Valley and have 3 flight trips to Calgary, Colorado, and Austin, and you come out of those 3 games with, you come out of that 7-3-1, I think you've done your job. And the team's 13-7-3, I think, in their last 23 games, playing their best hockey. And, I think that's a good enough sample size to kind of show what the Condors are, when everyone's healthy, when Calvin Pickett's healthy. And, it's been great to see.
I mean, it's not bad to be at the place where they are right now. I mean, they are literally at 500 and a whole lot of home games through March. What does the home advantage really mean? Because sometimes it feels like it could be overbloated, but I don't think it is in this case.
No, not especially this time of year too. With the grind of a schedule and what we had in January and February, if we're home all this time, it means other teams are on the road, and it means other teams have grinds of a schedule. So Coachella Valley starts on a Friday here this weekend, and then they're in San Jose on Saturday. Ontario's in San Jose on Friday, and in Bakersfield on Saturday. So, these teams are going to go up and down California flights. I mean, Ontario still goes to Abbotsford twice, for flights. And I think they have a trip to Tucson in there too. So they've got 3 flights in the next 4 weeks. Like, things get a little hectic here for some teams. And fortunately for the Condors, it really isn't. There's a back-to-back with Henderson. There's a trip to San Jose. There's an easy trip to Palm Desert. And then there's another trip to Henderson. So, these are manageable road trips. These aren't long extended stays. And, the schedule, strength of schedule wise, kind of fits where, the Condors, if they can get 13, 14 wins out of 20, you might get home ice advantage even in the first round.
Let's talk about the upcoming between the time we next talk. I mean, we do have 3 very hard teams that are coming into play with, you were talking Coachella Valley, Ontario, and Texas, who we just wrestled with.
Yeah.
What are you seeing as they prepare for those 3 teams?
Yeah, I mean, we've played Coachella Valley tough all year. We're the only team that they haven't beaten in regulation yet this year. So hopefully that continues, because, we're going to see them 5 more times this year. So that's really the top of the top. You add in 2 games against Texas, and now you got 7 games out of your last 20 against the division leaders. So, that'll be difficult, but I think that the Condors have played their best hockey against the really good teams. It's been against the San Diegos of the world where you kind of have some mundane kind of games that, kind of slip away and, have the potential to beat you. But this team's played really well against really good teams. Has played Ontario tough all year. This is the last time we'll see Ontario. They're kind of right there in that pack of teams that, can the Condors catch them? Someone's going to squirt out of those middle three: Abbotsford, Colorado, Ontario. They all can't win. They all play each other a bunch. So someone's going to squirt out. Can the Condors get the fifth? Can they get the fourth? That's going to be the question, I think, because I think sixth is, I know it's still tight with Tucson and San Jose still there, but I think, just from a prognostication standpoint, the Condors are better than Tucson. They're better than San Jose. So I think on level pegging here for the final 20 games, it's fifth or fourth that I think this team has a chance to really make a push for.
And of course, when Condors get closer to playoff time, it always gets more raucous, more wild, and always a great time in the crowd. People want to check it out. Friday, Coachella Valley. Saturday, Ontario. Next Wednesday, Texas. What do people?
Yeah, we got $2 beers Friday night, and then Saturday nights our tribute to the first responders here in Kern County, and we've got the Guns and Hoses game, the Police vs. Fire game at 2, and then the Condors game at 7. So if you have a ticket for the Condors game, that's your ticket for the 2:00 game as well too. So come out a little earlier, and we'll have some canine demonstrations and fire vehicles on the plaza pregame, and really cool exhibits and stuff like that to kind of really dress that up on Saturday night. We've got a Wednesday against Texas. We've got the $2 beers next Friday. We've got New Jersey giveaway next Saturday. It's a 7-game homestand. So, plenty for everybody here for the next 7 games, and CondorsTown.com is where you want to go.
Well, definitely get those tickets because it's going to be a blast, especially as we head into the final part. And we'll see if there's any other new pieces that come in as the trade deadline is almost here. So
we'll see if I get traded. I don't know.
We'll trade each other. You'll have to go and do the energy on air stuff, and I'll have to go figure out how to hockey.
We'll make sure we save you a seat on the bus for San Jose.
I appreciate it. Ryan Holt for the Biggest Condors. My name is Erik Fox from Energy 95.3. Of course, every single week we are your connection to get all caught up on all things CondorsTown with your Energy Condors connection. We will catch ya